And now for something kinda different. Firmament is weird, dude. I already know I'm pretty late on this video and that I'm certain to pay the algorithmic price because of that. I also missed the discourse train by a good few months, so now all that is left is the aftermath. Oh, something happened here.
We are the keepers.
Dude, shut up!
Cyan was kind enough to send me this in May, and I only recently finished it because puzzle games are hard and brain no good. Unfortunately, I find myself with very little to say. In many ways, Firmament is in line with many of their games in the Myst lineage. You're dropped into a fresh new world, devoid of any and all context, and told to go off and first-person puzzle solve until you discover that context. They're vibe games, with some of the most immaculate ones you'll find in gaming. Cyan hasn't really lost that touch across the years, but their focus on creating unique worlds over all else. If it is not obvious, I am a fan, and I dig that. Firmament feels off, though, in a way that's hard to describe. Most of their uniqueness is still here, it's undoubtedly another game in the atmospheric what the hell am I doing genre, but Cyan seems to have tried to modernize their approach. I guess I see why they did this. Times are changing, and they want to appeal to a new crowd. There's nothing wrong with that. Also, to make it immediately clear for those wanting me to just get to the point, I don't think Firmament's a bad game. I do think that it is on the weaker side of the vast Cyan catalog, though. Maybe it didn't help that I started playing it off of the high of finishing Riven for the first time, but my playthrough was spread out long enough for me to get my expectations in check, so I don't think that mattered overall. The truth is, Firmament was not a game that I was able to form a connection with after all was said and done, but one I can appreciate all the same, even if I have a lot of gripes. You have your typical Misty structure at play, consisting of a hub and unique environments for you to explore called realms. These realms are Curavale, St. Andrew, and Juleston. The biggest change to that formula is that the way you interact with the world is different. No longer do you pull switches with your stinky hands, no, now you're given a doohickey, thingamajig, portal gun jr, J stands for jank, R stands for, rope. This device shoots little electric beams to interact with sockets and activate an effect unique to that item. They can be moving a cart back and forth, turning on a generator, connecting train carts, playing an ice claw game, teleporting you to different places, powering elevators, and much more. Well, okay, not that much more though. This usually activates a machine's core function, a la Ghost Trick. It's neat. If you think about it, it's not that much different from how things were designed previously, and the range it offers allows the puzzles to be a bit more dynamic. Most of these sockets can also be activated from different positions or different elevations. It adds an extra dimension to puzzle solving. You know, the third one. And on paper, I think this works. St. Andrew uses this mechanic the best, I feel, with some great puzzles involving finding sockets at different heights to raise and lower platforms and an observatory. Also, you can pilot a mecha here, so it is automatically the best. I am biased. Where problems start rearing their head is how this change is conveyed to the player. Yes, there might not be that much of a difference utility-wise between flipping a switch and activating a socket, but when everything involves using the same sockets, regardless of function, it's hard to see this as anything other than repetitive. What doesn't really help its case is that previously mentioned jank. Charming as it is, I don't think glitches are a massive sin, but this is probably one of the buggiest Cyan experiences I've ever had. Was that a glitch? No, this was a glitch.
Now it is, you're standing in it.
No, which probably ties into how ambitious the mechanic is. I have a couple examples off the top of my head, but one moment in particular was almost a showstopper. In Curryvale, there's a big ice block covering up a way you need to progress. So you have to climb into a giant claw machine to pick it up and move it out of the way. That is simplifying it, as it was the payoff of a pretty extensive series of puzzles itself, but there was nothing worse than reaching the end, trying to move the block away, and it freaking out and lodging itself under some geometry where it could no longer be moved. If this happens to you, I hope you made a save before, because if not, like I did, you're either soft-locked or you lost a ton of progress. It wasn't a great feeling to say the least. Jank aside, I also didn't vibe with how puzzles were designed that much. There's a lot of going back and forth between two different locations just to tweak things and then see the effects of them. You mess with something at point X, set it in motion, run to point Y to see how it works, then when it fails, you need to run back to X and make tweaks and do it all over again. This other ice block puzzle in Curryvale was guilty of this as well, and so are like all of the puzzles in Juleston. The entire water tank puzzle, running from the tank upstairs to the suit to go back underwater to adjust something to run back down to the tank, I get it. This is some cool mechanical engineering, but this is really tedious. Also, because there are only 3 realms this time around, there's a lot less visual variety going on than usual. That's math, though. 3 realms is less than 5 ages. But they work around this in clever ways, since you revisit each area in the second half to finish them with newly obtained doohickey functions. This is supposed to provide recontextualization to the places you previously thought you had mastery over, expand your worldview, see things from a new perspective. Most of the time, the second visits were more enjoyable than the first times around, outside of the underwater sections that showed up in 2 of the 3, and were pace killers each time. I don't really want to spoil the story itself, but it was solid. The in-game reveals are enjoyable enough, but how it gets there feels awkward. Kind of going back to how the conveyance of a lot of Firmament's new ideas was lacking some polish. The lore and backstory typically presented to the player via notes is now exposited to you vocally from a gaseous ghost in the bottom of your screen. Where before you were offered several different perspectives on the same situation, you're now given a single perspective. There are some notes left behind, but a lot less than I would have liked. While the gas gives a good performance, it's hard not to feel your immersion breaking when you just want to take in the sights and form your own opinions. This wouldn't be a problem in most games, but it feels at odds with the developer's pedigree. Which, in all fairness, is thematically the point. Firmament loves recontextualization, and the end of this game recontextualizes everything you saw before. Cyan was not trying to do Myst again. Firmament's mostly just trying to do its own thing. Sadly, I think they began to realize that Myst's identity is hard to shake, so it tried to have its cake and eat it too. You have these stunning locales begging the player to retrace the steps of those who came before, but you don't feel like you can truly immerse yourself in this world with the interjections of both the gas
this time is different
and a really annoying loudspeaker message blasting every few minutes to take you out of things.
Say the line!
We are the keepers.
Which, again, is also kind of the point and ties into the underlying themes. These worlds aren't made for you. You're an outsider and not welcome. And in that regard, I think Firmament conveys that idea, that hostility, better than most of Cyan's previous games. So, with hindsight, I did like this, but when playing it, I really did not. In closing, Firmament didn't come together entirely for me, but it's still a good time. Cyan seems to have tried to make a puzzle game based on modern indie first-person conventions, not a callback to an older era. There's some awkwardness in that though, and I don't necessarily find too much at fault with that. I think newcomers who have never played Myst or any of their other games could enjoy this a lot, even if they'd have to get over the current bugs and some jank. I find myself torn, though. I'm not opposed to Cyan trying new things. In case you didn't know, I'm actually the acting president of the Uru fan club. But Firmament feels like it can't make up its mind. It wants to be this desolate experience, but it also won't ever leave you alone with your own thoughts. Where it has ambition, it lacks in polish. Not including the visuals though, which are gorgeous as all hell. Their artists are truly talented. Game's beautiful, no surprise there. So I'd say, yeah, give it a shot. Maybe on sale if you're not entirely sold. I enjoyed Firmament for what it was, but I get why people didn't, and I think time and maybe a few more updates will do a lot for the game. It ultimately feels like a stepping stone. To what? No idea. But keep on stepping, Cyan. Hey all, thank you for making it to the end of the video. I'd like to thank Supreme Zerker for script editing, VZ Shows for sitting in on play sessions and letting me bounce some ideas off them, and Cyan Worlds for sending me a review copy. In case you weren't aware, this show is funded via Patreon. If you'd like to see videos 3 days early, get your name in the credits, and see behind the scenes content, click the link in the description to find out how. This month's Meta Royal Slimes are Alex Austin, Corvin, Enoravan, Happy Emmons, Ornkerling, I Frozen Ace, Jeremy DeForest, Looping Pyre, Moon Watcher, Renteca Bond, Snigs, Wayne is Boss, and your friend Chuck. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you all next time. Take care and stay safe.